Here we are, the app that we were working on earlier today. Right now, there's nothing going on in our app component in React, but we're probably going to want to change that as well. On the server side, what I was thinking about doing is, what if we make kind of like a bidding type situation, right? Where we start off with some type of price for a product, and then we keep having people bid on that to like bump the price up, right? All right. So normally this would probably be done with some kind of a database, but I'm trying to keep this fairly short and not super complicated. Let's just create a price outside here somewhere, okay? So I'll say let price equals 5. We'll say that's $5 for now. Okay. Now what I want to do is that when a person first connects, I want to let them know what that price is, right? So how I can do that is inside this callback function, I now have a reference to that specific socket, right? So I can send this socket some information. In other words, I can give them this price information. So that way, we can update their page to show them the price is this. So let's do that. So when the person first connects, I'm going to socket.emit. Emit means we're going to send some information back to this socket, okay? And then the event that we're going to emit will be something like price received, okay? And then the second thing that we need to send, we need to include when we call this emit function, is we want to include what that actual price was, like some data inside there, right? So let me just put in price. Okay. Now on the front end, I'm going to be listening for this event right here, price received, so that I can display to the user what the current price is. So let's go back to our app.js right here. And I'm going to use this use effect hook right now. And it's not going to make a lot of sense initially why I'm doing this, but we'll talk about it a little bit. So I'm going to say use effect. When do we typically use this use effect, guys? Yeah, when we want to run some code one time, right? And that's why I passed this set of empty square brackets here. So we just want to do this thing one time. And what I want to do is I want to add in an event listener. So I want to say socket.on, and then this is going to be the event that I'm listening for. So the event that we're listening for is going to be price received, right? That's the one that our server is going to send us when we first connect to it. So I'll say price received. Okay, and now how am I going to keep track of the price? I can make it another piece of state, right? Make sense? So let's just do that. We'll go, or we'll just call it current price. We'll say const current price, set current price, and then I'm going to invoke this function use state. Okay. What are we going to say the original price is? Well, maybe it's null, because I don't have it yet, right? Okay. And then I could do something down here. So if I haven't yet received the current price, what do I want to show the user? Yeah, something like that, right? Because we don't even know what this product costs. I can't allow that user to start bidding on it. So let's just put a little conditional in here. So if price equals null, then let's return, oops, loading, ... Okay. So now let's come back up here inside of our use effect here. So when this event is fired from our server, what do we want to do at that point, do you think? Probably want to update this, right? We want to update whatever the current price is. So let's do that. As is the case with all of these dot ons, the second argument that we're going to pass it is going to be, what do you think? No? It's going to be a function, right? It's going to be one of those callback functions. So what we're saying is that when this event happens, when the price is received, then please invoke this callback function for me. All right? So let's make a little callback function. The callback function will take whatever data it is that we just received from the server. Okay? And what am I receiving from the server? Price. Does that make sense? So now that I just got the price from the server, this is my callback function, I'm going to set the current price, and then I'm going to pass in this price that I just got from the server. So we'll say set current price. Okay, and then down inside my render down here. So if we've gotten past this, that means that I've received my price, right? And I could put that down there for the user somewhere.
You said this yesterday, but the last argument on that
Mm-hmm. So the empty array is just saying, I only want to do this one time. Okay. You could also pass some variables inside that array, and then when any one of those variables changes, it will run the code inside your hook. Okay. But by us putting nothing inside that empty array there, we're saying we'll just run this at the very beginning when this component is loaded. And then that's it. Only one time. So real quick, the reason why we're doing this stuff in a use effect call is because do we want to add these listeners on every single time the code from our component runs? We only want to add those listeners on the very first time. Okay? If you add extra listeners, things are going to start behaving very, very weirdly. And that's basically like a memory leak in your application because you're doing all this extra work, you're holding on to all this stuff that you don't want to be holding on to. Okay, so inside here we'll just put current price, and then I'll output that, right? I hate when it does that. I don't really know why. Okay, so let's go back to our application and see if we're actually seeing this now. Start that again. Whoa. Price is not defined. Line 12. Oh yeah, I called it current price, right? My bad. Okay, current price is 5, so that's good. Cool. Now, what if I want to give this person some ability to actually place a bid or something, right? We're going to need some kind of an input. All right, so let's come down here. So I'll just put a div tag here, and then we'll have a label, place bid, and then after that we'll put our input. Okay, cool. What's the value going to be here? Oops. Anyone know? I haven't even created that piece of state yet, so I should probably put that in. Let's create that. Const value, set value. Okay, equals use state. We'll just say that's a blank string for now. So I kind of noticed this in some of the one-on-ones. There was a little bit of confusion about what's going on here in use state. What does this mean that I'm passing it a blank string like that? That's our initial value, right? This piece of state, which we're calling value, is going to have an initial value of an empty string. Good. Glad you guys see that. So now that I've got a blank string in there, I could put that inside here. So I can say my value is value, right? And then what else do I want to add to this input? What's that? An on change. Yeah, exactly, right? So if we add an on change here, we can constantly keep track of what the user has typed in the box. So say on change, and then that's going to take in an event, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to do set value against event.target.value. Okay? What's the target of this event? It's the input itself, which means that is the input's value right there. Cool. So that'll allow us to constantly keep track of what the user has entered. The other thing that we're probably going to want to do is let's throw this inside of a form itself, right? So I'll just change this from a div, put it inside a form. Whoops. Okay, and then maybe let's have a submit button in here, right? Place, exclamation point. There we go. Cool. So now that we're inside of a form and we have this, we're going to be listening for submits, right? What do I need to add up in there too? An on submit, right? Okay, I don't have a function for that, so let's create that. Up in here, we'll just say function handle submit. That's going to take in what? An event. What do I want to do every time when we want to prevent the default, which will stop it from doing what? The normal form submission, which means that it would make a request actually to the same page that we're on, because there's no action attribute in that form, right? All right, so we'll prevent the default. And then what else do you think we want to do? Now we need to alert the server that we've just placed a bid, right? So how do you think we can do that? It's going to be very similar to how we emitted an event from our server. This time we can say socket.emit, and we're going to tell it what the name of the event is. Okay? So I'm gonna do a quick check in here though before we even emit the event. What I want to check is the number that the user supplied me with greater than the current bid. If it's not greater than the current bid, do I really even need to send anything back to the server? No, I mean there's no use, right? They haven't actually bid properly. So I'll just do a little question here. If value is less than or equal to current price, then what we want to do is we could just return, right? We'll be done. Okay? So if I get past here, what does that mean? If I get past line 16, then what does that mean? Say that again? Yeah, if I get past here, that means that whatever price they just put in is greater than the current price, which is good. So I'm going to send that back to the server. So let's do that. I've got a reference to the socket. We'll say socket.emit, and then the name of this event is going to be new bid. Okay? And then what we want to pass to that is going to be whatever that input value is, right? Value. Does that make sense? Okay. Very good. Now on our server side, actually let me plug in this handle submit in the form too. So on submit, we'll say handle submit. Okay. Now does our server side know about the new bid event yet? No. So we're going to have to put some kind of logic inside here to alert it that when a new bid comes in, what are we going to want to do with that price there? We're going to do what? We're not just going to increment it, we're just going to change it to whatever the new bid was, right? So if a person, even though the current price is 5, if the new person bids 10 or whatever, well, I want to change the price to 10, right? I don't want to increment it, just bump it up by 1, put it at 6. Yeah. Cool. So inside this callback function that's getting a little bit large here, I'm going to add another listener here. So right now we were listening for a disconnect event. Right now we're listening for what event? Or we want to be listening for? New bid. Okay, and then the second argument here is going to be, what is our callback function, right? Okay, so I'm going to say something like, we're receiving a new bid. And then inside here, what I want to do is I want to basically overwrite that price there with whatever this bid that just came in, right? So I can simply say price equals bid. It's just sort of, we're just overwriting the value, or we're reassigning it essentially is what's happening here. So we'll say price equals bid. And I'm going to do one small thing here. Yeah, let me do it in the app side here. When I submit this event or this data back to the server, is it going to be a number or is it going to be a string? It's going to be a string, so I may want to turn it into a number like this. By putting plus in front of it, that will attempt to coerce it into a number. Now, if I put letters in the input, that could cause us some problems. Yeah, it could cause us some issues. I could turn it into a the input type as number, and that would probably be okay. You guys want to do that? We'll give it a type of number. Okay, and then we'll just start their initial value instead of an empty string. Let's just say it's 0. That's their initial bid, right? And then I won't have to try to coerce this like that. Okay, cool. So one thing that we've done here, we've overwritten the price with whatever this new bid was. Let's keep in mind that there are potentially hundreds or thousands of people connected to our app right now, and they're trying to bid on this exact same item, right? Do they know about this change right now? Not yet, right? So we actually have to alert them to that fact. Here's how we can do it. If I say io.emit, what that's going to mean is I want to emit an event to all of the sockets that are currently connected to me. Okay? So including this one here, the one that we're kind of like inside of right now. So I'm going to send an event out to all the sockets telling them this new bid took place. That way it will get updated on all of their client sides like that, right? Because I want them to see whatever the current price is. It wouldn't make sense for them to see an outdated or stale price there. So what are we going to call this? We'll say new current price. Actually, can't we just emit the price received event? Yeah, and the reason why that will work is because every time my client side gets this event right here, it knows to update the price on its end. All right. So let's emit that to all of our sockets, and I want to also pass along the price. All right. So let's test this out with just one socket. So I've got one page pulled up with this guy here. I want to place a bid, so let's change this to 10, for instance. Let's place that bid. Cool, it changed there. Now, what if I want another person to be connected to me? So I'll open up an incognito window. Incognito. And let's go, yeah,
Good question.
sure.
With the bid, wouldn't we want that new bid to be added on to the existing bid?
What do you mean added on?
So we had a current price of 5. So
Yeah.
when someone bid an extra $10, shouldn't it be 15?
No, that's not how bidding works, because if you're in an auction, you're saying what is the price I'm willing to pay. So if I'm
Okay.
saying I'm willing to pay $10, it's not 10 more than
Or
the
that-
last person. It's just
Okay.
$10, period.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay, so now we've got two people connected, right? And you can see they're both seeing the exact same thing. They're both seeing a current price of 10. This person connected afterwards, but it's still seeing the current price. Okay? So now if I update the price here, or if I place a bid here for 15, this changed here for me, and I'm also expecting that price to change over for my other guy who is also looking at this page. So if I go back to my non-incognito tab, you see how the current price has updated there as well. Yeah, pretty cool. So we've got this two-way communication going on. And if I wanted to maybe flesh this out a little bit further, and let me know if you guys want me to do this, we could also have like a list of actions that took place, right? Someone placed a bid for this amount. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
You could do that.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Oh, all the activities. Yeah, cool. Cool, so let's do that up here. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to create an empty array to store the different things that are happening in here, right? And the reason why it's empty is because when we start out, nothing has happened, right? So it's just going to be this empty array. And then every time a person does a bid, let's add to that, right? So we'll say something like activities dot push, and I'll just make a little string here. So someone placed a bid for, I'll just put the dollar amount right in here, and then what I want to concatenate that to is going to be the current, or this bid right here, right? Okay. All right, now how do I alert everybody that there's been a change in the activities? Yeah, I'm going to have to emit to everyone, right? So we'll say io.emit. What's this going to be called? We'll call it new, or activities, activites received. Okay, and then what we want to pass along with that is going to be this array of activities, right? Okay, and then where else do I probably want to emit activities received now? Probably right inside here. So when a person first connects, let's let them know what all the current activities are, right? So that they're seeing the current price and they're also seeing all the activity that's actually happened. So we'll emit, socket.emit, and then we'll say activities received. And then I also want to pass these activities along, right? Say that again? Oh. All right, fair enough. So inside of our app, now we have to keep track of activities as well, right? It's not just the current price. So let's set a new piece of state here. So say activities, set activities, right? Oops, activites. And then we'll call that against use state with just an empty array. Make sense? All right, cool. And then down here, let's just iterate through these activities. So what are we going to use for iteration? Map. Yeah, I heard it over there. So let's say activities.map. We're going to have an activity and then an index, right? And then here I'll just render out a p tag with the activity inside of it. I need that key, right? All right, very good. Now, there's one more thing that I need to do on the client side. So right now I'm listening for price received, right? What's the other thing that I need to listen for? Activities received, very good. Socket.on activities received. Okay, I'm going to get, I need to pass in a callback as the second argument, right? So we'll say we'll get this new, I'm going to call it new activities because we already have a variable called activities. And what am I going to do with those? So I've got my new activities. I just got back from the server. What do I need to do? Yeah, I need to reset it with this guy, right? I've got my set activities function. So let's just call that. And then I'm going to pass that these new activities. Okay. So then I'll just put something down here letting us know these are going to be the activities. Maybe an H2 tag or something. Bids so far. Okay. So notice how everything started over again. Why is that? What's that? NodeMon, yes. Very good. Yeah, so our server restarted, which means we're back to $5, right? Now if I place a bid here, let's go $10. Okay, cool. I've got my activity there. Place another bid for 15. Okay. And then if I come over here to my person who's in incognito, you see it's showing me the current activities, right? And now I can place a bid for 20. Okay. Or if I try to place another bid for 20, well, nothing happens. Why not? Because of my little if check, right? I made a check in there to make sure that whatever bid I'm trying to place was greater than the current price. Otherwise, let's not do anything. Right?
Are you gonna put some time also? That's good.
No, it's actually a really good idea, but I just don't want to drag it out too much. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we could get the ID because I don't know if you guys remember, but earlier today when we were getting everything set up, remember I logged out the socket itself and we saw this huge object with a ton of different properties inside of it. One of the properties is the ID. Just keep in mind that that ID will change if you do like a hard reload of the page. Okay? So if you guys are trying to have some sort of persistence, that's either going to require potentially session on your server, or you could also potentially use like a cookie of some sort that would kind of tie a particular user to something. Also, you could use your database for more permanent storage, right?
So if you refresh this, it doesn't. It will go away.
No.
Okay. Because the first time you do like it refreshes and it says
Yeah, so again, the reason why things reset a minute ago or so is just because we have nodemon running with our server. So the second that I made some changes on the server and I saved the file, it turned, kind of put us back to the beginning. That's all. Yeah. Okay, so I showed you guys how to emit to all the sockets. There are a couple other small things that you can do, which I'll make mention of briefly here. If instead we want to just send something back to this specific socket right here, I showed you that. That's on line 18 here. Socket.emit. That means that we're sending something back to just this one, right? Okay. Then there's a third type of message that you guys may or may not want to play around with it. It's called a broadcast emit. So I can say socket.broadcast.emit. Okay? And what the broadcast emit does is it sends an event to all of the sockets except this one. Okay? So for instance, if I had a new person just enter the bidding war or whatever, and I didn't want to send a message to that person, I wanted to send a message to everyone else, I could use this. I could say socket.broadcast.emit. Everyone but this specific socket. That's what that does. All right. IO.emit, again, is going to emit a message to all of the connected sockets. And then socket.emit means that we're just emitting to this specific one. Just that one. All right, real quick. Andrew, what's happening inside here? Let me get past this real quick. So let's look at line 30. What's happening in there? Mm-hmm.
So we are invoking a on function inside the socket, listening to an event.
So we're listening for an event. Perfect. I like that. Called what?
For new bid.
We're listening for an event called new bid, and then we're passing in as the second argument what?
The functions
A callback function.
that will set the price to the bid.
So the callback function is going to take in a bid, and then what are we going to do with that inside the body?
Having that bid set up with the current price.
Mm-hmm. So we're overriding, or we're reassigning this price variable to whatever this bid that just came in was, right? And then what else are we doing?
And then push. And then we're having array sorting with all the
Right, so initially that array was just totally empty.
Yeah, we put all the bidding price into that activities array, and then
So we're basically putting a new string inside there, right? We're saying, okay, here's a new piece of activity. Somebody placed a bid for this amount, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Then what are we doing down here? Line, is that 35? 35.
then we emit the activities back to the server.
Okay. Back to the server. This is the server.
The client.
Yeah, we're now sending this to all of our clients. That's what it means when we say io.emit. All of the connected clients will now get that event right here called activities received, right? And then it's up to the client to know how to handle that because we've written some code in the client on the client side, which is listening for the activities received event, right? And then what else are we doing down here on 37?
Semantic.
What's that?
I'm not sure about that one because I think the order doesn't matter in this place because it's actually listening for the client is listening for if the price coming in or not.
Well, this is when we say io.emit. What is that doing again?
Sending the information to the clients.
To all of the clients, yeah. Every single one that's connected. We're saying the event name is price received, and then we're passing along what the current price is, right?
But then we have the activity though. We do something for the new event called activities received, right? Then will that skip the price received after that activities?
Wait, I'm not following what your question is. Like, will this happen after that? Yes, right? Because it's just going line by line.
Right, but after
So
that,
this happens first, this happens second. Are you asking what happens after this on the server side or on the client side? I'm a little confused.
I'm confused too.
Uh-oh, that's the worst.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, okay, the first code you wrote is the 31, 37, that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that was at the first beginning is we're listening if we got the price or not, and then after we have the activities, which is the bidding price getting adding up. We're gonna skip the line 37.
No, so every time a new bid is placed, line 37 is going to run, right? Because we're going to do this entire function line.
Oh, it's still running.
Mm-hmm.
The receipt is.
Yep. Every time this event fires off, our callback will get called, which means that we're going to go through all of this code inside there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Does that mostly jive with you guys? The callback is not something that's just going to happen one time. It's going to happen every single time there is a new bid. Okay. Cool. And then on the client side, so we had some code over here where we were sort of setting some things up, right? Stefan, what's going on line 11?
11?
Yeah.
So we use the use effect, so we're just gonna do it just one time.
Yeah.
And then use the socket path on, which is socket path on. What's the socket path on?
This is like adding an event listener.
Okay.
Pretty much the same thing.
So the price event is just the event listener.
Okay.
And then we have this our function, which is we're trying to set the current price.
Good. And this is going to come from where?
The price.
Yeah, where are we getting that from?
It's over there. The price
it's right next to my finger. Yeah.
The price is on the back end.
There you go. Yeah, that's what I was at. So it was coming from the server,
Yeah,
right?
coming from the server.
Okay, very good.
Everyone is like feels sleepy, so I just like.
No, that's cool. Yeah. All right. And then what are we doing with it? So we get that price, and
So
then
we get that price, and then we set current price.
Right.
Inside of use state. I mean, we're putting in the value of the set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now the important thing here is that when we call set current price, that's not changing anything on the back end, right?
Yeah. No.
All this is doing is we're just trying to keep our front end in sync with the back end right now.
Yeah. So basically, we're trying to get the value in our client side.
Yeah. Yes, we want our client side to reflect this is the current price, right? And that's what that does. All right, and then line 12 is doing what?
We have also the socket on,
Mm-hmm.
and we're trying to listen to the activities received, and then also we have this R function, which is we're trying to change the new activities.
Okay.
That's our new activities, right? That's gonna be our.
Yeah, so new activities is going to be our parameter for
Our
this
parameter,
callback
yeah.
function, right? Those are going to come from where?
From the back end.
From the back end, good.
And then we're just basically giving the calling the set activities, giving it the new activities.
Right, so this will in fact update what we're seeing on our screen, right? So every time a new activity is added, we'll see that entire list right there. Cool. I think we're in pretty good shape here. Any other final questions here about what we did?
Can you answer your shoulder back for a second?
Certainly.
So then the connection.
Sure.
Okay, so then this understanding of how that means works. If someone enters the server, it doesn't render the backup when we get
It doesn't render the what? I didn't catch that.
backlog item. So the other messages you omitted already, they won't receive it because they weren't there to receive it.
Are you saying after we've run 18 and 19, those two things won't happen again?
Oh, no, so let's say like you have bidding between two clients, and the third one goes and joins after they got transaction line.
Yeah.
When that client joins in, they only have whatever news coming in, rather than what was previously sent.
Can it be to like the activity messages that happened before the new user got onto the socket? Would they see those previous activity messages?
Yeah, they do. So in fact, if I were to open like a new incognito here in Brave, for instance, let's do that.
With this, because you're pushing the activity on the.
So yeah, you can see that all of those activities are still there, right? Yeah, because we wanted to emit those to the person when that person first showed up, so that they can see like here's all the history before you arrived, right? And we'll show them the current price as well.
What's the limit on users? It's like 6 figures.
Yeah, I think I don't know that it's 6 figures. I want to say it's somewhere maybe in the 30 to 60,000 range. I'm not positive on that.
Is there a way to like link another socket if you wanted more users, or how would you handle more users?
I'm not sure. You want me to look into it for you?
Oh, I think we're going to.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a fair question. Yeah, and obviously that would be a big consideration if you're trying to build something that could accommodate thousands and thousands of users. Yeah. Cool, guys. If there are no more questions, I'll let you get back to your work.
Thank you.
You got it.